Can't believe nigga said, why you do this? Not doing anything, man. I got to do it with my team to win a championship. My fault.
What's good, everybody out there, and welcome to another edition of Field Vision, brought to you by War Room Sports in conjunction with Sports Kings. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Devin McMillan. Just want to give a shout out to everybody out there who watches us keep it real every week, but gets upset when we keep it real with their team. Kill yourself. I'm here with my partners, B. Austin, War Room Sports.
Yo, everyone has a plan till they get punched in the face.
My style is impetuous. My man Frank, Sports Kings.
Yo, shout out to Las Vegas. Your boys coming in a week. Let's do it.
Oh.
Yeah. We got Fred of Heavy in the Games.
Salute. I do it for the rings only.
And we got the homie Jimmy of War Room Sports.
Give me an hour plus a pen and a pad. That's all.
That's all we need. All right, so we're gonna make this quick. This episode, we're gonna talk about three quick things, and let's start it off with one of the bigger stories of the week. Happened on the field, but it's more of an off the field story. Mike Tomlin, he's been fined $100,000 for his sideline interference in the Thanksgiving night game versus the Baltimore Ravens. What do you guys think about the fine? Was it too steep? Is it just right, or should they have fined him more? Before you answer, keep in mind that they're still talking about possibly taking draft picks from the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. So what do you guys think?
Yo, shout out to Mike Tomlin for doing a cha-cha slide on national television. He wasn't hurting nobody, man. It is what it is, man. He out there doing a Cupid shuffle and whatnot. But I think that the draft picks is a little harsh, but I get that he's going to be made. You have to make an example of him. You can't alter the game that way because you messed up a lot of money, man. There's people out here who have Baltimore's defense and fantasy, man. Football is predicated on the gamblers, man. It's the reason why they have to get their injury list the way they do. It's the reason that we talk about the spreads the way we do. So you messed up a lot of gambling money too. It's money on how many times Baltimore's defense could have scored or special teams on the game. So
speaking
you
of
mess
injury,
with the game,
Jacoby Jones running up the sideline.
Yeah. And not just that, man. He better be lucky that Baltimore still won that game.
Yeah, it would be
because
worse.
if Baltimore didn't say they lost that game because of that play, man, he would have got lynched, literally.
Yeah, they'd have tied him to a wagon wheel and whooped his ass. I just want to point out to the fact that nobody's mentioning that Jacoby Jones used to run like a 10-100 and was world-class speed, and he got walked down from behind and tried to blame that on Tomlin.
Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, I think the fine was a good. I thought it might have been more, to be honest. If they didn't make an example out of Tomlin, you would have had every coach looking like they're at a bar mitzvah just every week. That's all it would have been. Every coach would have done that. Every coach would take $50,000 for a win every day of the week. So they had to make an example out of Tomlin. It wouldn't surprise me if they take a draft pick because Roger Goodell is pretty much a communist.
Oh, snap.
When they saw them 6 digits, though, they started thinking twice. Like, you know what? No.
Mm-hmm. $1.6 million for wins is kind of, I'll take $100,000 every game. Never mind.
Yeah,
Fred, what do you think?
As a high school coach, and I know it's a little bit different, but
they don't pay you enough for that.
As a high school coach, I'd hate that. But as a high school coach, I've even caught myself being caught on the sideline, losing your spot, just trying to catch on, just kind of seeing where things are.
Hold up.
Fred, hold on.
Looking at the Jumbotron? Did you lose your spot looking at the Jumbotron?
Mike Tomlin, a.k.a. Omar Epps.
Fred, don't get fired. Fred, don't get fired. Don't snitch on yourself, man.
But with that being said, and yes, down here in Florida, we have teams that have Jumbotrons. Yes. Shout out to Lakeland High School, even though I hate them a lot. But
listen.
But yeah, you do at times you can get if you are in that situation, I can understand. But with him being who he is, Mike Tomlin being on that rules committee and all of that, he should know better than that. Shame on you, Mike Tomlin.
My thing is this. Because he's adamantly apologized for it, but he's also sticking to his guns about it not being intentional.
I'm sorry, but when you smile about it, that's a problem.
And I've seen, coaches and football, basketball, people drift onto the court, onto the field sometime. But to me, this looked like it was totally intentional. I mean,
his foot was at least a good 3 inches on the field. And
slide to the left.
See, but like Jimmy said, I still think that the draft pick will be a little drastic because even though I don't believe Mike Tomlin for a minute, I still don't think that the league can really prove intent. Like at this point, you probably have to take his word for it because how can you really prove that he did it on purpose?
So
he didn't have a moment. He didn't have a Jason
Tomlin,
Kidd moment where he said,
Tomlin didn't have the hit me moment.
Hit me.
Exactly. So they can't really prove intent. So I'm like, okay, the fine is enough. I don't really think they should take draft picks. That's gone a little bit too far.
If we have that situation again, obviously take your draft picks.
Yeah, if you have it again, you got to punish them somehow. But
draft picks is excessive. I agree with Frank. $100,000. I thought it was going to be something astronomical. $100,000 is light. That's something light to Mike Tomlin. But it's enough.
Yeah, but
to make
that's enough weekend money.
You can't go that much. Over $100,000 because didn't Belichick get $100,000 for Spygate?
He got
500.
He got more than
$1 million. He got like 500.
I think he got like 500 in a rule that he could never win again because they ain't won a championship since then.
That says that's a lot coming from a team that hasn't won since 90.
You know what pisses me off about the whole draft pick thing is that they're saying that they're waiting until the draft order in order to decide. Like if it's worth a draft pick, it's worth a draft pick regardless.
It shouldn't matter if it's a top 5, top 10, 15 pick.
If it's worth a draft pick, it's worth a draft
they're
pick.
Trying to keep
they're trying to protect Pittsburgh a little bit. Pittsburgh loses out and they get a good pick. We're not going to take it from them.
It's just a good thing Jim Ricalto's not here.
Not if Mike Tomlin got something to do with it. They ain't going to lose out. If he got to get on the field.
I'm sure Jim might be here telling us how it was a mistake and he just tripped and fell out.
The protection is
the Steelers could lose every single game, but they're not losing to the Ravens, and they still lost to the Ravens.
Hey, Jimmy, he would tell us how it happened because he was just mesmerized at how well Antonio Brown is playing.
Shout out to Jim Ricalto. He would find a way to blame that whole thing on Jacoby Jones.
He shouldn't have went to the sideline. He shouldn't have stayed in the middle of the field.
He should have stayed in the middle.
Stay your ass in the middle of the field. You're supposed to be fast.
So another big story of the week that just started developing on Monday night after the Seattle Seahawks absolutely thrashed Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. There's a lot of talk out there. There was some before, but it seems like a lot of people after Monday night have solidified the Seattle Seahawks as the best team in the NFL. What do you guys think, and what are their strengths and weaknesses going forward? Are they the best team in the NFL? And if they're going to lose, how is it going to happen?
I just want to send 2 shout-outs. Shout out to myself for picking Seattle and Denver to go to the Bowl because that is still alive as an option.
I refuse to drink the Kool-Aid, and they are that good.
Yeah, because I was everybody else was going Niners. I said no, Seahawks going to beat the Niners. But also shout out to the person at our round table right now, Mr. Fred Perdue, who I talked to Monday night before the game started, and assured me that Drew Brees was getting ready to go crazy on that secondary.
If you have no proof, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Exactly. Now he's caught amnesia at the Seattle show. They are the real deal. Seattle's the real deal, man. Like they're a well-rounded team. Put it like that.
They had Drew Brees out there looking like RG3. Yeah. Like,
you really
shots fired. Shots fired, man. Why you worried about RG3, man?
Not even on your team, man. Chill out.
Worry about your own team.
Worry about my own quarterback. Worry about Nick Foles, right?
Worry about your own team, man. Get off RG3.
Seriously, guys, but the Seahawks, man.
Send that man a wedding gift.
That team is very. They're the perfect team because simply they can run it, they can throw it, but their defense is they're adaptable. It doesn't really matter.
They're nasty.
Yeah.
The pass rush really took care of that secondary. That you lost Brandon Brown, you lost Walter Thurman. So, I mean, man, it's just, and they can take their running. They can take their offense on the road. I mean,
Frank, you're right. They're right. They're one of those.
They don't have to go on the road though.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's the thing. Yeah, right now they don't. But throughout the regular season, they have any more road games, they can take their offense on the road.
Seattle,
Simply put, they're used to all the elements. I mean, it rains every game almost.
They're one of those teams that often get every unit going at the same time, which is a rarity. In the NFL, where you can get your offense, defense, special teams all going at the same time. Wasn't it some crazy stat like they've allowed 15 return yards all year or something crazy like that?
Yeah,
I didn't remember if that's
it was a number. It's a number under 20 yards for the year.
Yeah. I mean, all that being said, I think the Seahawks are definitely beatable. I don't think they're an elite team like one of the all-time great teams where I'm like, man, you got to watch out for the Seahawks teams. They're going to go down as one of the best in history. They have weaknesses. If you can rush the passer because their offensive line is questionable, if you can get to the passer, you can beat them. And Seattle kind of has a little thing where they feel themselves a little too much, and I think you can use their aggressiveness against them at times. I think sometimes they're trying to jump routes, they're trying to make that big play, they're trying to show you how good they are.
We haven't seen that yet.
Here's the question for Frank. Frank, I agree with you to a certain extent, but who do you see in the NFC that can actually do that?
That's the problem.
Walk up into the 12th man and win on the road.
And that's another thing. They definitely have a home field advantage. It's real.
So that's what I was going to say. A team that I can see beating them if they're actually legitimate for real is the Giants. Carolina. I think Carolina has the necessities to beat them, but in the Super Bowl mostly. I think both the Broncos and the Patriots could potentially beat them.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised. It wouldn't be an upset to me.
If they have to have one of the best home field advantages in sports, not just football. So I think it seems like they are going to get that home field advantage throughout. But if they do, it's going to be very difficult for anybody in the NFC to go through there in the playoffs and win. I don't think it's impossible. I just think it's going to be really, really difficult. Somebody has to go play their best game.
As of right now, it's like Carolina and I guess still New Orleans are like 2 games behind them now at this point, right?
Yeah, they are. If you're able to get into a shootout with them, I've seen what Russell Wilson's growth. I think that he's a tremendous young prospect. But I question whether he would be able to win a battle where he's got to come from behind and really throw the ball.
Right.
They rely on that defense holding opposing offenses to limited scoring. So if there is a game where someone does get out on them, and now with Browner gone, and there's a chance that someone were to get up, let's say 2 touchdowns on them, and run.
That was supposed to be Drew Brees in them.
Yeah,
and I think the counter to that is simply you have a running back who is he's not the best running back in the NFL, but
he lives up to the nickname.
He does.
I say he's the hardest running.
He does everything you want him to do. He's a tank. I mean, you can't really. How many guys have had to try to bring him down? And when you can cut the game in half,
this is really specific. This is really specific and kind of getting maybe a little too in depth, but there ain't no way they'll do that to the Saints again. Like if they play him again, I do not see that being a repeat.
I mean, not to that degree. They ain't gonna kick him the way they kicked him.
Not to that degree.
First of all, they beat him in the playoffs a few years ago at 7-9. They just embarrassed them on Monday Night Football. I can't see the Saints coming there and just rolling over again. So.
The Saints are one of those teams like the Colts when Peyton Manning was there, and also like the Falcons. They're those indoor teams. They just tend to not play well in the elements. If you really go, they talked about that long road winning streak the Saints had. If you go back and look at all of those wins, those quality wins they had were against indoor teams. They never really beat a team that was outdoors that was really elite or even good, remotely good.
Yeah.
At least not when the weather was bad.
Their best win was against Atlanta, and Atlanta in a dome is like playing at home.
Yeah, Atlanta stinks anyway.
Good point.
Going back to 2009, that is.
Oh, go back. I'm about to say.
Going back to 2009,
that is. Say this year, I'm not impressed with any wins over Atlanta. The funny thing is, every week in the pick'em, I keep picking Atlanta. I just think,
it's just hard to believe that Atlanta just stinks.
How are you that bad? You're like, damn, how are you that bad?
But Jimmy and B. Austin can attest to this. That sounds weird coming from me because when Atlanta was good, I was one of the main people saying they're not real. They're not real. They stink. You know, they're not. They
Dad
can't.
don't
This
believe
is what that team looks like.
Now I
without
keep-
all
Dad
those
don't-
long Hail Mary throws from last.
Dad don't believe me either way. Y'all can't be that good, but y'all can't be that bad
Be
either.
that bad. Like I don't get it.
Injuries decimate when you
It's
when
a,
your
it's a
your,
lot
your
of
team
it's
is
a lot of it's a lot of dishonesty in Atlanta. I ain't gonna.
when your team is totally dependent on 2 wide receivers and an old tight end with no running game. It's based that offense was completely based off of almost like how Peyton Manning had it when he was in Indy. You had
I mean, their downfall is kind of that defense, though.
yes, their defense is
You know
down.
what though?
Their defense
I'm
is the downfall.
Yo,
So bad.
Michael Turner actually produced more than old boy they brought in. Though, to be honest with you,
The guy that was in,
I'm
is in
saying
witness,
as much as
Jackson,
they
well,
call
he's been
Michael
hurt
Turner.
most of the season. He's
I
just
call him witness
starting to
protection.
get
His
warmed
name's
up.
witness protection, right?
He's played well over the past 2 weeks.
A couple weeks he's
That's
played
it.
well. But I'm just saying Michael Turner, like he
I
produced.
feel
But
bad.
when you
for
bring
Jackson.
Steven Jackson in, do you not know he's going to miss most of the season?
Yeah, I feel
Right.
bad for him because his injuries have robbed him of what he really could have been.
Yeah. When you have a physical,
he
but
has
that's the, he's the
numbers.
reason why
He has
you
the
don't-
numbers, but he's played on a bad
bad
team all his
team.
career.
See, I hate Steven Jackson
Maybe it's
because
him.
he's
They brought him to Atlanta.
perpetuating the running back stereotype by just completely falling off. Like one year, like all of a sudden he's just a beast one year, and then the next year he's perpetuating a stereotype right now.
He's getting his.
Steven Jackson is the reason why you don't draft running backs high anymore.
He's getting his
That's a whole
Alexander.
other story.
They used to play in
That's a whole
Seattle.
other-
Dude just fell off the earth.
Yo, my man
Yeah.
Sean Alexander was good on Friday, and he was done by Monday.
Same
Yo,
as Larry Johnson.
I can't.
Larry Johnson, I was just going to say Larry Johnson as well.
Now
I
Larry
can't
Johnson
stand-
is
I
a
can't
Buddhist,
stand Sean
he's a
Alexander.
Buddhist DJ.
Because one fantasy game I was up by like 80 points, and he had a Sunday night
He
game.
scored
that
like
he-
80 points that night.
Yo,
he was
he
like-
scored like 90 by himself.
He was on my team that year. He got in the
Yo,
end
he
zone
didn't
like
have-
75
yo,
times
he
in one
had,
game.
He had 2 cuts and no muscles. Like, I didn't understand how he was good. He had no muscles.
Because they gave him the ball in the red zone and he scored a lot. All right, but anyway, it's crazy about the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, Matty Ice was an MVP candidate last year. Now he's fallen off the earth a little bit. But speaking of MVP candidates, you have your usual suspects. You got your Peyton Manning,
Turn that
Tom
head
Brady. You got who else do they have in the in the
Drew
race?
Brees.
Drew Brees in the race. You know, the usual
Cam Newton.
suspects.
You got to
But
throw Cam Newton.
A name that has been popping up on a lot of quote-unquote experts lists is one Mr. Nick Foles of my hometown Philadelphia Eagles. Now, do you guys think that there's any way, any reason, any justification whatsoever for Nick Foles to – because we know he has no chance of winning it.
I'll
But
go last.
Is there any justification of why his name has even popped up? In
No
any
interceptions.
I mean,
Of
here's
course
the
there's
thing.
justification.
That 0 interception. I mean, that's
Yeah.
and here's the thing: the team is winning. So let's just say they continue to win. I think he has no shot at winning the award, but just getting his name mentioned, I mean, that's a compliment itself. That to show that the team's on the right path in terms of the quarterback position. Because a couple weeks ago they were talking about what are the Eagles going to do in the draft in terms of quarterback. That talk is like died down. You still hear a little bit of it. If they do draft a quarterback, that's disrespectful.
They waste an early pick on a quarterback, man.
Yo, that's disrespectful. But you know the whole adage. We always talk about how coaches want their guy. They want their draft pick. You know what I'm saying? And you can ask Alex Smith about that.
Well, with Jimmy, with Marcus Mariota staying in school, that may have bought
change
Nick
things.
Foles another year.
It bought him
try
a
to
year,
do his
exactly.
thing,
Yeah.
to prove
Another
himself.
year to
I
give
mean,
him
and
the
Nick
proof.
Foles doesn't exactly look like he's running the Chip Kelly Oregon offense the way it's supposed to be run. You know what I mean? He's not exactly Marcus
Gets first
Mariota
downs on
out
that
there.
read option.
with
The
the
myth-
leg.
First downs.
But what do you consider
Okay.
what do you consider the Chip Kelly Oregon offense? Because what you see in the highlights, the zone read option and all of that stuff, that's part of it. But at the same time, that offense was also a passing offense as well. If you really look at what Marcus Mariota did this year, they really threw the ball a lot, and that's really the same offense that they ran with Chip Kelly there before he left. They started throwing the ball a lot more. Even if you go back to when they went to the national title game against Auburn, they were throwing the ball a little bit more and more and more. They were trying to get away from that run game.
See, but the thing is, Fred, like, because I agree with what you're saying, and Chip Kelly also tries to cop an attitude every time somebody says that about his offense. He's saying, read option is just a play. We don't base our offense around it. that may be true, but I think he proved that the so-called myth is a little bit true by naming Michael Vick the starter in the first place.
No.
Michael Vick didn't really do anything to put himself head and shoulders over Nick Foles in the race, besides the fact that he was athletic, and they thought he was a better fit because he could run with the ball. So
by bringing Dennis Dixon into camp,
doing stuff like that, like.
Yeah, but to go back to your original question, I mean, of course it's legitimate. I mean, if the Eagles win out, they finish 11-5, and Nick Foles has 30 touchdowns with 1 interception, you'd have to be insane to not act like he's not one of the top 5 candidates for MVP. I mean, how do you discredit that? How do you discredit going? I mean, what would his record be with the Eagles as a starting quarterback if they were to win out? I mean, they had about 3 losses when he got there, didn't they? Or no?
Right. He's won.
I mean, you guys know better than I do.
5-1.
He's lost one of his starts.
5-1.
That stinker of a half he threw.
I give him an honorable mention, but I wouldn't really legitimately. I wouldn't legitimately give him a great shot at it. Simply that offense.
I'm not saying he's going to win. He's not going to win.
No.
But
I give him an honorable mention.
If it was the Heisman, you could fight him, but he has no chance of winning.
Right, like the dude's going to have college football numbers, like the kind of numbers that these dudes put up when they're going for the Heisman Trophy, where you're like, this dude threw 4 interceptions all season. What the hell's going on here?
Right.
I mean, if you're going to put up a stat line like that, you have to at least put him in the conversation.
And he does have 19 touchdown passes and only 6 starts, and he has, of course, the 0 interceptions. He's accounted for 21 touchdowns because he's rushed in 2. I don't even like to breach this subject because I don't ever want to seem like a homer. And if I ever praise the Eagles, that's what it's going to seem like to the people who know I'm an Eagles fan. But I can
go ahead and do it. Go ahead.
I can see his name being mentioned in the conversation now for all the reasons that Frank said, and for another reason, the Eagles were a 4-12 team last season.
Right.
And they may not have been on their way to 4-12. With Michael Vick, but I didn't see them being much more than 6-10. And though the season isn't over and they can easily just drop their next 4 games, they're on a roll right now. 4 straight wins. He's the highest rated passer in the league. You got the touchdowns. You have the lack of interceptions. His pocket presence seems great, and he seems like the catalyst that's lifting this team up. So I can see how his name.
Their best wide receiver, by the way, because Jeremy Maclin is the best wide receiver.
Right. I agree.
Making Riley Cooper look like a Pro Bowler.
He got Riley Rebel out there balling.
I would probably put Nick Foles over a guy like Andrew Luck for MVP easily.
I think Andrew Luck has been struggling.
I think Andrew Luck's been strong, but yeah.
I think we have to put this. I think we have to put this in context, gentlemen. MVP, we're taking a snapshot of this season, and what he has done is incredible. I wish that I could say that I was up on Nick Foles when he was at Arizona. I was not.
What did you miss out on?
I was not. As an Eagles fan, I did see enough last year in him that I wanted him to be the starter, and that's not really a knock to Michael Vick. It's just Michael Vick is 33 years old with a lot of mileage.
Knock to Michael Vick.
Yeah. And Nick Foles is 24 years old with a lot of road ahead of him. The keys to being a great quarterback is decision making, the ability to read what's in front of you pre-snap and post-snap, and accurate delivery. Those 3 things, all of the athleticism, all of the sensational plays, all of that stuff, we all enjoy it. We all love it. It's all good. But those 3 things are the foundation of the discussion around Nick Foles' success and the reason we're even having this conversation. His decision-making is immaculate, and that's why I think, as everybody has said, honorable mention. I think it's a compliment for him to be in the conversation. If we win out by chance, which I don't believe we will, I don't believe that, but if we were to win out, it would be more of a legitimate conversation, but I still wouldn't give it to him. And I'm a fan of Nick. I'm a Nick Foles fan. I am.
And the real
question should be, should Chip Kelly be getting Coach of the Year consideration simply because of the fact of he's brought an offense in that has completely turned the team around and changed the way of a quarterback that probably wouldn't start had he not been.
Yo, Tom Brady probably wouldn't have started if my man Drew Down hadn't got hurt. But I mean,
I think Nick Foles.
Shout out to Drew Bledsoe.
You say Nick Foles wouldn't start?
Yeah, I think. I mean,
he would have started because Michael
Vick
Vick
went into camp with a quote-unquote competition. And like I said, and even Chip Kelly said the whole time, it was even, but, I guess you give Michael Vick the nod because of his athleticism, because of his experience. So I don't think Nick Foles wouldn't have started,
Mr. Purdue, Coach of the Year is a wrap already, yo. You realize the Chiefs had 2 wins last year, right?
Yeah.
This is true.
Coach of the Year is a wrap.
That is over with. That award is over with.
Yo, Andy Reid might have a key to the town, like key to all the barbecue places.
Andy Reid can run on the field butt naked and lose the next few games, and he's still getting that.
I hope he don't do that.
Yo,
I hope he enjoys Coach of the Year because playoff wins won't come very easy.
Last point, fellas, real quick on Nick Foles. I hear a lot of people, the detractors, even some Eagles fans, talk about the level of competition in this 4-game winning streak. And I don't disagree with that. But what people have to understand at the same time, again, this was a 4-win team last season. So when people see the Eagles on their schedule, they think they may have a win as well. So, when a team is not supposed to be that great and they go in and beat other teams that aren't that great, it's still accomplishing something.
No, let's expand
because those teams thought they were going to get a win off of the Eagles anyways.
Let's expand on that point a little bit, too. Just because you have an overall bad team doesn't mean the defensive unit that Nick Foles is facing is bad. Because a lot of these defenses that we played weren't bad
at the time. The Raiders were top.
The Cardinals have a great.
The Cardinals were number 8.
Very good. And had it not been for a holding call, that 0 in that interception column would be over number 1.
Yeah, but you can say that about every quarterback.
Thanks, Fred.
Just saying. Okay. Patrick Peterson, can I get that? Can I get that changed? Come on.
But if they hold the guy you're throwing to, then the interception might be likely. Happens sometimes like that. All right, but listen, let's do our games of the week. We have 3 games for you like we do every week. First game, let's talk about Cincinnati versus the Indianapolis Colts. Pretty intriguing matchup. B. Austin, who you got in this game?
Indianapolis Colts. Quite simply, I believe in Lady Luck. I don't believe in the Red Rocket right
now. Frank, who you got?
I went back and forth on this game.
I remember you flipped.
I actually changed my pick. I had Cincy at first, but I think, like B. Austin said, I just think Andrew Luck's the best player on the field, and I think he's just going to make a clutch play, win the game. It's going to be a bad game, though. I think it's going to just be boring teams.
I agree. I think it's going to be a little sloppy. I think I'm going to go with Cincinnati on this one. The Colts have definitely been sloppy over the past few weeks, and their running game stinks to high hell. I mean, even last week when Donald Brown finally got his 57 yards and a touchdown, it was late.
We might have to add Trent Richardson's names to the Sean Alexanders and the Larry Johnsons of the world.
It was late. The game was already basically decided, in my opinion. Trent Richardson absolutely stinks right now. What he said, his reasoning and his coach's reasoning for him struggling, I give it a little bit of merit because when I watch those guys, it does seem like when he gets the ball, for some reason, 3 guys are already in the backfield when he gets it. But great backs make people miss, and they make stuff out of nothing some of the time, and he's just not doing that at all. Donald Brown, he was doing what he was doing because, when Trent Richardson went out of the game, defenses didn't focus on the run that much.
Yo, my man Trent Richardson
inserted him into the starting lineup. He struggled a little bit as well.
My man Trent Richardson gets the ball and starts stepping on it like it's hot coals. Like he just starts hopping around like he doesn't know what to do.
They don't really care. They don't really scheme for a light-skinned running back. And Donald Brown usually gets draw plays, so it's a little bit different than when you're stacked up and ready to run the ball. Like they know Trent Richardson is getting the ball versus Donald Brown who's just getting kind of like, here, you take it. Yeah. And the running lanes are open.
All right, well, I'm going to go with Cincy. Jimmy, who you got?
To make a long story short, looks like Fred dropped off. But I have really no great football analysis for this game. I was going to pick Cincinnati in this game, but Indianapolis has a way to win every game that they shouldn't win and lose every game they shouldn't lose. So I'm going to take Indianapolis in this game just based upon that logic right there.
Yeah, and then the Bengals had the exact opposite where they just lose games they're supposed to win. So.
Yeah. All right, well, big game. we spoke about Seattle a lot earlier. We got the Seahawks going to the 49ers. Jimmy, who you got in this one? This should be a heavyweight matchup.
Yeah. I may roll. Yeah, because another game I went back and forth on. And I think that I may take the Niners just based upon the fact that Seattle coming off of that win, they might be smelling themselves a little bit. But then again, Seattle is that good of a team, and Colin Kaepernick took 8 steps backwards once he started dating Sanaa Lathan. And as a matter of fact, let's thinking about that. When she started messing with the bull from the Bears, he fell off too. So
yeah, anyway. What you doing? You already know why Kaepernick's gonna fall off.
All right.
With that being said, I think I'm just gonna ride out my Seattle. I'm taking Seattle, man.
All right, Frank, who you got?
I went with the Niners. I think because last time they played Seattle, they were just so embarrassed, and division rival. I took the Niners at home.
Okay, B. Elson?
I'm going with the Legion of Boom because with a quarterback that only reads one half of the field and a great secondary, that's not gonna happen.
Great point.
Okay. I'm gonna go with the home team on that one. Seattle might be riding high after that big victory on Monday night, and they're going into the 49ers, where actually I think the 49ers really need the game. So I think they'll win it. But
that's another huge thing with this game.
Of course, we picked
the Niners
these.
Needed a lot more than the Seahawks do.
You gotta blame little thumbs, Dev. Blame little thumbs.
I mean, but you guys know that the 3 games that we usually pick are the biggest games of the week, so nobody's surprised if the other team wins.
Y'all seen Sanaa Lathan and Asundra? Never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, Sanaa is top notch until you look at her hands, but
like Martin said,
her hands, man.
Martin said, you don't care hands, but you might. But anyway.
Yo, where are we going?
I done lost it. B. Elson, did you pick? Did everybody pick? Y'all got me thinking about Miss Lathan. All right, so
she got the last game. She got dwarf hands.
Speaking of a team coming off of a big game, you got New Orleans coming off of a big Monday night game where they got smacked around. You got Carolina on an 8-game winning streak. They just won another one. They're just rolling up wins. Fred, we'll start with you. Who you got, New Orleans or Carolina?
I'm taking Carolina. I really like what I've seen from Cam Newton on a short week. Wow, the Saints got thumped.
Taking Nick Foles.
No, I wouldn't take Nick Foles. Give me the Panthers, man. I just like what I've seen from that defense. That secondary is a little they're kind of thin.
Suspect.
But yeah, we can call it suspect.
All right. So since we already picked, no analysis. Who you got? 49ers or Seahawks?
Seahawks. That's not even close. Colin Kaepernick is not gonna win it.
Yo, and Fred knows football.
he said not even close, huh?
And also my pick
Cincinnati. What about Cincinnati and Indianapolis?
Cincy. Not even close. Andrew Luck, I love you, but
nothing.
He's just hating on our games of the week. He's like, should not even be close.
Blowout.
Not even close. But hold on, Frank. Just to let you know, he said the same thing about the Saints and Seahawks game this past Monday. It didn't turn out that way. So I'm just putting that out there. That's all.
I also said that same thing about the Broncos and Patriots, but
Yeah, on the record, you said the Broncos will win.
Yeah, so, you did. I got the tape.
Yeah,
I got the tape. All right, B. Austin, who you got, Carolina or New Orleans?
Yo, I'm really impressed with Cam, and Carolina has a great front seven. But even though Captain Mutterland is one of my homies, I'm going Drew Brees. He's going to be a little angry, and he's not going to let Cam show him up.
The Panthers will not step into the Mercedes-Benz Dome and push the Saints around. Not even close. No, I'm just joking. It'll probably be close, but I'm just doing my Fred Purdue.
You doing my okay.
No, but I got the Saints on this one. Frank, who you got?
I also took the Saints. I would have taken the Panthers because I keep wanting to say, well, the Panthers, they're going to come down to earth eventually, but at some point you just got to stick with the fact that they just might be really good. But if the Saints didn't get embarrassed on Monday night, I would have taken the Panthers. But Drew Brees is going to be nasty.
And I am using the same logic as Frank. I'm picking the Saints just because of Monday night. Like, if the Saints would have won Monday night against Seattle, I probably would have picked the Panthers, but it didn't happen. So I'm rolling with the Saints. I can't see them, losing 2 in a row. B. Austin, you think Sanaa Lathan's top 5?
No, she's not top 5, but she's thorough, man.
All right.
Now, if I see her in a sundress, that might change my opinion.
I mean, I know you scrape. I'm just saying, like, no.
So she top 5 Facebook pages I visit.
Leaveitin.com.
All right, so that's our picks for the week.
That's our show. Get yourself arrested.
Yeah, I know.
She the reason the Niners ain't playing well, man. I'm telling y'all, it's always the women, man.
She consent. I'm better looking than their quarterback. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, what are you talking about over there?
I have no clue. He went too far.
All right, so this has been another episode of Field Vision. At this point, we have no clue what we're talking about.
Speak for yourself.
Make sure you like the video. Make sure you comment, because we will comment back. Tell us what you think. Should Nick Foles' name be in the MVP conversation? Are the Seattle Seahawks the best team in the league? And do you think
how nice is Sanaa
Tomlin was enough, or do you believe they should get some draft picks taken down in Pittsburgh? Let us know. And, like we always tell you guys, don't accept mediocrity. And, before we even do that, make sure you check out the Sports Kings at sports-kings.com. Check out Fred and Heavy of the Games at heavyinthegames.com. And you check out everything we do at warroomsports.com.
Now, where do you rank Sanaa Lathan? My fault.
Yeah. And where do you rank Sanaa Lathan?
That's the most important question that we've raised today.
Dead or alive.
Yeah.
All right. So,
I'm
like we always tell you guys, don't accept mediocrity and be steadfast in the war against ignorance.
We'll see you chumps on top.
Sanaa Lathan, me, you, Friday night, Caesar's Palace.
I'm on Zola.
It's the war room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys diversified and educated.